What is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 216. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Sup, people? It is Thursday.
Prove it.
Carlos Romero.
Yo, what up?
Brian Manjoma.
Yo.
Brett Murdoch.
As always, there is no way we'll top that pre-show.
Adam Vale.
In the city. Oh.
All right, and we got two very special guests with us tonight. Joining us once again, Mr. Robert Workman.
Yes, sir. Street Sharks for life.
For life. And returning, it's been too long, my man, way too long, from Spawn on Me podcast, Mr. Cicero Holmes.
Happy New Year, everyone. The Baron of Bourbon is here.
Yes. There we go. How to keep the camera on my man, take a sip. Cicero, how you been, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing really well. I'm happy to be back home with the Throwdown, man.
That's what's up. And Robert, man, I hope you're doing good, man. You told us some good news about the diet before the show, which is really awesome.
Yep, down 45 pounds.
Nice.
Didn't require any tapeworms, which is nice. So yeah,
You missed out.
Didn't I hear? It's not happening.
Using the app?
Right.
How's that Street Sharks tattoo healing up?
You using that app?
The Street Sharks workout. It's amazing.
No, the tattoo. Is it healing well?
I haven't got it yet. I'm gonna get it before PAX East. Though.
Back piece, right? Full on?
No, I'm gonna get the Battletoads emblem right here on the arm. I think.
Oh, nice.
I'm not like Tony. I don't want to get a tramp stamp.
I thought I was going to throw that at you, man.
You know that?
You showed me the
nothing wrong with
plans for your
tramp
camp
stamp.
Do it.
Keep it
Hey,
sick.
you gotta live your truth.
Tony's
man.
tramp
Yeah,
stamp.
you gotta
was
live
just
your
a Sega
truth.
logo.
You crazy, man. But anyway, Big C, man, what's been going on with you? What's been going on with Spawn on Me? You guys have been doing big things, especially last year, man,
Yeah, we're still moving and shaking. Chicago is a beautiful place that grows bigger by the day. We just put a 271st episode in the can, and it's a good one, guys. In fact, actually, next week is going to be a real big week. We're going to have a regular show, plus our Game of the Year show will also air next week. It's called the Spawnies, y'all.
Here we go.
It's the quest for the greatest award in all of video games, and that is the Cheddar Bay Biscuit Award.
Oh, that's fancy.
Because there's nothing better than the Cheddar Bay Biscuit.
Why the fuck didn't we have anything catchy for our game of the year?
Because
We
because
didn't do a game of the year.
You could have called them the Tonys, but I think that would have been a
The
lawsuit.
tone, yeah, right.
Donies.
Yeah, we tried to do a game of the year like 2 years ago. Then we realized like nobody plays the same games around here, so it wouldn't work.
Yeah,
We
everybody's
almost did it,
playing
though.
different things.
We just take each other's word for it.
Some of us don't even play the games that came out that year, so they just.
No, that's what I was about to
chilling.
say. Like, with Manny's play schedule, I want to see the Mannies.
right.
The Mannies, yeah, that'd be good.
Hey, listen,
Mannies.
I at least played like three of the main games this year, and
I want the Bryans. He doesn't play nothing that comes out the year it's supposed to come
Well,
out.
Brian-
Best game of 2019 was
Brian-
released in 2017.
Yeah.
Brian's all about you get it maybe a year later for like $2.
Yeah.
See, he's doing this
I
shit
played
smart.
Pokemon. I played Pokemon Smash. That's like 2 games that came out that year.
Now,
There you go.
everything will get actually it'll be Warframe every year. That'll win the Game of the Year award for you. How many
That
hours did you
might.
put in, Brian? You were telling us some crazy stuff last week, like the
Lot
hour,
more
the
than I
hours.
should have.
Yeah, the amount of hours you put in just during the holidays.
Oh yeah, like the amount of time I put in 3 weeks when I was off work was the same that I put in the whole year beforehand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Well done. Well, either well done or I feel sorry for you. Because
And he
Yeah,
probably,
it's a fine line.
it
he
could be
probably
like,
hasn't got around to the Switch version yet. For all
right.
we know.
It could be like 3 hours that he put in after work.
No.
That'd be it, right?
Yeah. So
It's like 3 hours per day, maybe if I'm lazy.
all right.
Like,
I like
one
that.
day was like 12 hours, like non-stop.
Nice.
Of course, stopping for eating and bathroom breaks because I am responsible. But
Oh,
you
good
know what I
job.
mean.
Yeah, you don't want to die in an internet cafe, because you didn't fucking relieve yourself. But Brian, how many hours do you have total again?
Oh, I can check for you right now because
Uh-oh.
I'm actually about to play it in like next 5 seconds.
He's gonna play it while talking to us. That says something.
Yeah. What's
Well,
your-
no, he's not going to be talking very much.
All right.
Okay, currently I'm at 3,168. No, sorry, 3,192 hours.
Shit.
And counting. But keep in mind, it's been like I've been playing for almost 5 years now. So
Jeez.
Yo, man,
You
that's
know,
the
isn't it-
longest game ever.
3,000
end?
hours.
And he didn't pay
We're
a
not there
cent
yet.
for it. He didn't pay a cent for it. Think about that.
Yeah, good job.
That's crazy. All right, what's going on in the chat right there? What's going on,
4.5
people?
months.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. So yeah, man. Again, really proud of what you guys been doing on Spawn on Me. I got to see.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I got to see Ka a couple weeks ago. And we recorded a really dope episode of Gamer Tag Radio, which you heard.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Shout out to the cats over at GTR. They're all losers.
Especially Paris.
Yeah. I heard you guys were in North Kakalaki.
Yeah,
Talking waxing poetic about all of 2019, the year that was 2018 in games, your love that I share for Red Dead Redemption 2.
my man.
And it seems like everyone's either ambivalent or outright like antagonistic viewpoints on Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, I was
It was
trip.
amazing.
Yeah, that whole trip. Not just those guys. It was like I was like the only one that liked the game. Everybody else was like against it for some odd reason.
Not me. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it too.
Yeah, I feel like critically, I think that there has been a kind of a critical backlash to the game, and part of it has to do with something that I think Khalif said both on our show on Spawn on Me, and I think he kind of alluded to in on Gamertag Radio, which is that the game doesn't respect your time. And for those of you who haven't finished the game but have started it, you know that the tutorial is 3 hours long before you're actually even able to see the open world. And then the game takes a very, very long time to complete. And then after it's complete, there's an epilogue that has you doing a bunch of different things.
That could have been its own game right there. That epilogue.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
When
kind of funny.
epilogue 1 and 2. I'm like, what?
It's kind of funny. Like a few days ago, I was having a discussion with a person that was playing the new God of War, right? And they said they couldn't get into it because nothing happened right away. Like previous God of War games, you're getting into this battle with serpents or whatever. And this one, you actually have to establish a relationship with your son. And he didn't feel like he got into it. And I'm like, it's sort of within the mindset, like games like Red Dead 2, games like God of War, they reward the patient. They reward those that want to go with this game, because it's more about the journey and not so much the destination.
Absolutely.
I think it's a matter of learning patience.
Agree completely.
Yeah, I mean, because God of War, once you get into it, once you get into that first fight, all those thoughts of, well, this is boring, go the hell away. Be like, whoa, what just happened? Wait a minute, somebody's kicking Kratos' ass. What? Wait, what?
I don't know. I have issues with that game, and it's not the journey part of it. It's just that I feel like there's just a lot of little narrative dissonance coming onto that game, which kind of annoy me.
It is different from other God of War games.
To be honest, it's like, why is this grunt monster beating the hell out of me, and yet I can beat the 2 times I fight the same boss twice in the game, and I beat that guy like nothing.
Well, you gotta build it up.
He's getting fucked up by a werewolf.
You gotta build it up.
Werewolf, some guy who throws ice at me, the same 4 or 5 enemies. I'm like, come on, guys, no.
Yeah,
it just seems like they took like the epilogue of a normal God of War game and stretched it out artificially.
I like the idea that it tried to tell a story this time.
Because to me, it's like half the time you spend when you come to traversal in sort of a God of War game, it's always a sort of forward momentum, right? But what happens in this is like there's a lot of space. It's almost like you took all those really big pieces and just kind of spread them apart with a lot of walking.
And that kind of brings us back to Red Dead 2, because a lot of people were like, well, the game will stretch out because you have to ride everywhere. You have to ride across this part of the map. You have to ride across this part of the map. But I'll tell you, and I had a lot of fun with my rides, because you turn on the cinematic thing, then you watch a horse run smack dab into a moving train.
Right.
It's pretty hilarious,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So you can have some fun with it. It just depends what you put into it. I don't think the games are flawed per se. They're just not for those that are looking for an experience. You know, or they are for those looking for experience, but they're not everybody's into that.
But it's a weird slippery slope, because you know, you have those moments where it's like, okay, you have those nice games that are just like, you know, you get in and you get out, like, you know, Spider-Man, the recent Spider-Man game. That game, at no point did you feel like, oh my god, you know, it just kind of flowed through and you played all the way through, and from a lot of us got the platinum trophy.
Exactly. Exactly. So you know, two points that you made, Manny. I think when it comes to Red Dead, that what from a critical perspective, and this is kind of what I was getting at, is that the critics have Red Dead to play and hundreds of other games to play. So, or at least dozens of other games to play. And when you have dozens of other games to play that you kind of have to play in a certain period of time, you begin to resent the fact that you can't rush through Red Dead. You can't, you know, just kind of play it like Spider-Man, where it's just like, okay, boom, here we go, next set piece, and we're done. And I think that's where a lot of the vitriol is coming, or you know, not necessarily vitriol, because I don't think people outwardly hate it, but I think people just don't like it.
Indifference.
God of War or Red Dead.
I guess it's a little bit of a backlash, I would say.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but
To be honest, like I don't exactly have the same sort of issues I have with Red Dead, for the plain reason that the last Red Dead, it was all about riding in long distance spaces. Right. There wasn't any kind of cheat that you can do. I mean, granted, the world is, you know, like twice the size of the previous one, but it never the kind of Western aspect kind of asks for a slower pace.
Yes, I agree. I agree completely. You watch any of the spaghetti westerns, right? There is, I mean, those stories are incredibly simple, but what is the thing that takes the most time? Waiting for them to go to one place to another, waiting for the for the gunfight to happen, building the tension, building the sort of tension. Yeah, I think
I have to disagree though. Like, and I, as somebody who honestly doesn't like, as much as I want to try, like, I'm not really a huge fan of Red Dead. Okay. And the interesting thing about that though is, out of everybody on the panel here, people would describe me as enjoying boring ass games. Like, if there's anybody in here that loves a walking simulator, it's fun to be all day long. So if that's the case, like, I love micromanagement, and I love building, and I love, you know, settling, and I love open worlds, and I love slow paced games with consequence and narrative weight that you interact with the narrative on a heavy part. So if the case of this is the pacing and it going too slow, then why don't I like it?
I think, like I said, it's a matter of different strokes for different folks. Some people say, well, this is an action game. They expect action right off the bat, you know, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's just something that not everybody's used to. I mean, like, for instance, it took me forever to get into Octopath Traveler. I'm still trying to adjust to it. Meanwhile, role-playing fans swear it's the greatest game Square's released in some time in terms of original titles. So, I mean, that doesn't mean I hate the game. It's just taken me longer to get into it, and it's a little frustrating. But then again, I'm not a role-playing diehard fan like some of you guys out there. So I'm not going to shellac you. I'm just.
I would suggest play play Dragon Quest, not Octopath.
Right.
Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah.
I can give that a go.
Yeah, it's a little bit more immediate. By the way, this is what you get on Throwdown, man. The ill discussions before the main show, you know? The good stuff right there. But anyway, man, today is one of those reasons that reminds me of, like, why we do this show on a Thursday night. We had the show ready to go at noon. We had the show notes. Everything was set to go. Shit changed 4 hours ago. Had to redo everything, and it's part of why I love the gaming industry. It's like, you never know what's going to happen. So yeah, I don't know.
I thought that was the WWF.
No, but this ain't a wrestling podcast.
You never know what's
That's
gonna
where it's
happen.
learning. That's where it's learning. So,
So, yeah.
That's
As long as Brock Lesnar wins, we're good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna skip to it. Bungie has left Activision, man, and they're keeping
Right.
Destiny. Crazy shit. You know?
whatever, man.
You know,
Whatever.
this was also something that has been said quite a while ago,
Mhm.
where there was rumors that they were going to sell off Destiny and just essentially just drop it to and give it and sell it all the way to Activision. But yeah, it's the opposite thing that happened.
Yeah, but anyway,
Right.
Cicero, man,
No,
why don't you
no.
start us off, man? What do you think about all this, man?
Well, I mean, this is gonna give Bungie the opportunity to like actually breathe and do the thing that they wanted to do, presumably, right? Yeah, part of the complaints about the original Destiny was that it was 3/4 cooked when it came out of the oven and was released to players. And for all intents and purposes, you could say that Destiny 2 was 4/5 cooked. Before, like Forsaken was the thing that brought people back in, but also made all the other systems from the vanilla Destiny 2 make sense. So like this is going to give Bungie the opportunity to go in and say, look, it's done when it's done. Destiny 3, we can keep it going, and when it's ready to go, that's when we're going to release it.
Yeah, Robert, what are
If
your
I can
thoughts?
say
man?
something.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Well, I'll tell you this. The fascinating thing here is the response. The response from the community. I don't think people have been this excited about Destiny since the original Destiny was announced. I mean, we had people who were going, oh, they're free from Activision. They don't have to follow this business plan anymore, and I think that is huge. I mean, people are saying, oh my God, Destiny 3 is going to rock when it comes to Epic Game Store or whatever, and they got all these theories going around, and people say, finally, Bungie has their Destiny in their hands. I've seen that joke 90 times today. It's ridiculous. But I mean, it's just crazy how what it took was to break away from the company to help bring Destiny to life, to kind of bring the Destiny community back. That's not to say it's 100%, but we've seen more positive feedback about the game today than probably in its entire run. And it speaks volumes in terms of what people are worried about with Activision taking control of Blizzard or doing certain things with certain franchises.
Adam is seething over there, man.
I'm seething.
He's seething.
Yeah.
Hot.
Did I say something wrong?
No, Robert, because you said everybody's been positive. Yeah, you're right, except for one guy, and I'm
Except for Paris.
Well, not even just me, just all the OG Xbox guys.
Here we go.
We all remember back 2007, they decided they wanted out. Microsoft said, okay, we want out. And what did they say with Bungie? Bungie was like, oh, well, we want out because we want to go and explore. We want to spread our wings. We want to create a new IP. We want to branch out, blah, 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 right? Everybody was hyped, just like we're saying now. Everybody's all, yeah, we can't wait. It's going to be awesome. And then they partner up with Activision, sign this multi-game deal, and they give us Destiny. I'm like, okay, well, this is what you wanted. Okay, whatever. But why did you leave one big company for another one? Because then even after, Microsoft was like, hey, we were willing to work with them on making something else, but they said they want to do something completely different. And then later on, it came out because Activision gave them $500 million.
Yeah,
And said, all right, yeah, this is what we're going to work with. Oh, okay, it's the money. And then we start seeing all the reports after that, The Verge and a few other sites said, yeah, they left for the money. There was a lot of money on the table there. They saw what happened with Epic and got Gears of War, and they're like, wow, they're getting big checks. We want that big check too. So then they leave. I was like, okay, this was their dream. This was their vision, the Destiny. If you see any of those reviews from the devs, they were like, oh, this is everything. This is what we wanted to make. You guys are going to love it. It's not really an MMO, but it is, but it's a shooter. Please love us. I was like, okay. And then what happened? It came out, had a bunch of issues, but whatever, every game does. And it just didn't live up to the expectations that I guess they promised Activision.
They didn't live up to their destiny.
Because exactly, their destiny. Because from what the way they advertised it,
fantastic.
they wanted this to be like World of Warcraft, that they would have seasons. They wanted to do that. They had no plans of just making a Division, a Destiny 2. They didn't want to go about that, but they did.
Yeah, remember them telling us this is going to be a decade-long thing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They wanted it to keep going, and then it was like, oh, wait a minute, we had some issues, this and that. All right, Return of the King. All right, whatever. The was it the King? Which one was it called? when they did the
The
$60.
Taken
The Taken King, right? And I had a buddy of mine. He just lured me to get that again, but whatever. And that one was better. And it was like, oh, that's what it should have been. It's like, okay, and then we have Destiny 2. And the Destiny 2 comes out, and it was okay. It was fine. But a lot of people still had issues. They were like, oh, it's too short. We have a story mode, but now we just flew through it, and now we're just grinding, and there was more issues. And it's just not selling. So then when you hear something like this, and they were like, oh, this is great. They're free. It's like, this was their vision. Yeah, people were upset about the whole microtransactions, and they were blaming Activision, and I'm sure it was. That's the business side of it. So put that aside. This is still Bungie's vision. So why does everyone think that all of a sudden the skies are going to clear up and we're going to get this whole new game? And it's like, oh, this is what we wanted. It's like, I don't see that happening.
Well,
I really don't.
Especially with Destiny 3 right on the horizon.
Yeah, you see, they had talked about that. So it's like, all right, fine, you're going to self-publish. Okay, do that. And see what happens, whatever. But I think it's going to be more of the same. I'm glad they broke off. Let them go into your own thing. They made tons of money. But I just don't see them making it to that point. Everyone makes it seem like they've produced something special before. No, Microsoft was there for Halo.
Adam,
Microsoft gave them all that money for Halo.
Let me ask you this. I was kind of making a joke about Anthem coming out before Destiny 3, but let me actually ask you that in all truthfulness. Do you think the fact that another company might beat Bungie to the original idea of Destiny and do it well before they're able to do it, do you think that affects Bungie's future in the Destiny field?
Absolutely. The fact that, think about it, just on the business side, let's say if we all put our business hats on, we're in a boardroom and we're here, hey, the guys at Bungie won out. What do you want to do? How are we going to work? Sell them. Whatever stocks they have in it, what the publishing rights, we'll take some money, we'll take a cut or whatever, give it to them. Go. It's done. It's a dead IP. That's basically what they're saying. The fact that they let them go and they didn't go to court and get all crazy, because they own it, but they don't own publishing rights. So there was some money, there was some kind of agreement made for them to have that.
Well, I mean, the thing is, how do we know that it's also not Activision cutting their losses?
Well, that is it.
I mean, because
they did that with Heroes of the Storm, remember? Because they cut that off too. With that
man, don't remind me about that.
In general, Johnny. There's a lot of negative talk about Activision at least through last year alone. One being the Call of Duty game. Then the next thing would be the friggin' the stuff with Blizzard. And then and then obviously before that was the Destiny stuff. So I mean, to be honest, I think they're just like, yo, we gotta keep this shit. We gotta keep this money going. So let's just cut these guys loose.
Exactly. $500 million. They didn't make that money.
But you have to understand.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they made it somewhere.
You think they made maybe somewhere, but not from this.
I just will say one thing. I mean,
Sony
Activision.
alone.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say Activision's no stranger to cutting losses over the years. Okay, they pared down. They got rid of the Pro Skater franchise and put Neversoft in with Infinity Ward.
Right.
They've dismissed studios that have produced great games like Prototype. And Blur. I'm still mad they closed Bizarre Creations. I don't get that at all. So I mean, this is a company that has no problem cutting down something on a lower end so that people on the higher end keep operating the way they do.
And this is why I find it so funny when you're talking about how everyone's so happy. Oh, look, they got what they wanted. They're free. We don't know that. It could have been total opposite. We're like, you know what? We're going to cut our losses. We're ready to let you guys go.
I think it's important to remember that the news dropped 5 hours ago.
Yeah.
So we are getting fuego takes right now, like
volcanic takes right now.
Yeah. So I mean, and people hate change, and then they also love change, and people also love when the little guy, in quotes, gets away from the big guy. And to call Bungie the little guy is like, calling a sperm whale little when sitting next to a blue whale. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just is like, you're really kind of grasping at straws. But at the same time, like, I think Carlos, I think you're selling Destiny a little short on now. I bought the collector's edition for both of them. like you, I got sucked back in on the Taken
I
King.
think Adam, you talking about.
Then it's me.
Oh,
Then.
Adam,
I thought maybe.
my bad.
We
My
do
bad.
have a caller.
Hispanics in there,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead, C. Go ahead.
You all look alike.
Yeah.
Damn, that's the fifth
Yeah,
time
he
today,
hold
man.
Like y'all look alike, even though he's never seen Carl.
Right, exactly. It's just avatars on the screen. I
keep telling these motherfuckers to get cameras. But anyway, go ahead.
but I think, like you, I got sucked back into the Taken King. I enjoyed the time that I spent there, and I bought the collector's edition for Destiny 2, but I didn't play it. I played it a little bit. I played through the story. I got through the first group of levels, and I did my thing. I know people that are still enjoying it. I know there's a very vocal community that is behind it, and and they'll enjoy it. And I think it'll sell well, and I think the franchise will continue to sell well. I think from the Activision standpoint, Rob is correct in terms of them just kind of cutting their losses. I think that they feel like they've squeezed as much blood from the Destiny Stone as they possibly can, and that there is more there, but the industry has moved in a different direction. That the shooter space has moved in a different direction, and they feel like they're closer to that direction with Blackout from Call of Duty than they are with Destiny from and all the goofy game modes that are in Destiny. So let Bungie have it. Let them do whatever the fuck they feel like they're gonna do with it, and maybe it'll be great. Maybe it'll be great for the people that really love that franchise.
Mm-hmm. There's the possibilities are wide open there, but it does leave an interesting question. Like, what's going to happen with Activision now? What do they have now? They have Call of Duty 2019 coming from Infinity Ward. They have Crash Team Racing, which I am excited about. But I mean, after that, like, how many more retro releases are left? And then obviously whatever they're doing with Blizzard. So, I mean, what the real question here is what they have planned next. I mean, are they just going to be the Call of Duty machine working on movies and stuff like that while they let Blizzard be Blizzard, but still operate it behind the scenes? That's what I want to know.
There's going to be a new IP somewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
there's the highly anticipated Diablo mobile game.
Oh yes,
highly
anticipated.
Of course, yo, but Cicero, you said something that it fucked me up though. You're right. It's like the shooting space is different now, man. Yeah. Like the games like Destiny that were hot 4 years ago, that's not hot anymore. Fortnite, PUBG, that's what's hot now. Yeah.
Oh, shit, even Overwatch overtook it for a while too.
Exactly. So maybe
Spyro overtook it, and that's Spyro.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Activision be like, you know what? Yeah, we're done with this, man. We don't need this shit anymore. That's just a crazy thought because remember how huge Destiny was when it first dropped? Like it was the biggest game for like a whole fucking year, basically.
Yep.
And just to think, look how hold on, bro. Just to see how kind of far it fell so quickly, and not necessarily because the game is bad. I don't think it is, mechanically speaking. I just think it's because the landscape shifted around it so much. It's no longer as for lack of a better term important as it used to be. Go ahead, Brett.
Well, not just that, but like we are looking for different things in our shooters. Like remember probably from the time of the original Halo through at least Rage, we were focused on the actual mechanics of the game, the shooting mechanics, how enemies reacted. If they took a bullet to the shoulder, does their shoulder swing back? I mean, that was Rage's huge thing, is that it has reactive enemy models kind of thing. And now we could give a shit less as long as numbers ping up on the screen and we're doing a battle royale. I mean, we've completely changed the focus of the shooter genre. We're no longer going for accuracy or realism.
Yeah, that is true. It's gonna be. I mean,
you're not gonna get realism in a sci-fi shooter in the first place. So like Destiny is like sci-fi and fantasy mixed in. So there weren't a lot of numbers that pop up on the screen, but the point is that it doesn't feel unrealistic to me to have to shoot a thing 17 times because
no, I'm not even saying that.
And shit like that.
I would say more like Fortnite. Like the idea of, do you see any games on the market now that are really doubling down on like the shotgun feels like a shotgun and the assault rifle feels like an assault rifle, and when you shoot somebody they react realistically? Like that doesn't seem to be. it's just fallen by the wayside. It's not that people don't care. It's just kind of unimportant.
Yeah.
As opposed to the meta mechanics of the game itself and how you interact with other people.
Right.
The idea of having a lobby is more important than somebody realistically taking a bullet.
Right. Well, I think that there are two games, right? There are two games on the market right now that really focus on that from the first person shooter's perspective, or even third person, is PUBG and Siege, Rainbow Six Siege. You know?
Yeah. And they carved their own successes. So
exactly.
Yeah. It is interesting though what I mean, I guess we can move forward with this. What do you think Bungie is going to do with Destiny? Do you fear what Adam fears, that Ubisoft or somebody may swoop in or whatever, or do you think they're actually going to really be an independent company? I'm assuming they have enough money to be independent now.
They've been independent.
Yeah, but okay, or I should say not be a second party company anymore.
Yeah,
because that's what they've been.
Do you think they'll keep on with Destiny?
I think so. I think so. I
wouldn't be surprised.
They would.
Yeah, they said they were looking to a possibility. I mean, they never officially announced it, but I mean, Destiny 3's got to be on the table.
It's got.
Now, the real question is where it ends up. Now, I've been hearing Microsoft may have an interest, because they've been swooping up studios left and right, Obsidian and Ninja Theory and all that. I mean, they're a big player in that, but I think Sony wants to get their finger in that pie as well.
I don't want Bungie to side with anybody like that.
I don't either. I prefer the
independent. They will.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's all about money, man. It's all about money.
But I don't think they will. I think they've had an opportunity to be a first party studio with Microsoft, and they were able to gain their independence, and then became a second party with Activision, and now I think they want to be independent. They received $100 million from a Chinese publisher to become
it wasn't Tencent, was it?
What was the name of the publisher?
Because Tencent, that we're going to talk about that for another show. They're the ones that are really going to become the Activision of the world.
They're the ones doing. Yeah, they're behind Epic.
Yeah.
You know what? And it's funny because it almost seems like Epic Games was almost in a similar situation. Like years ago, they were working with Microsoft on Gears of War, and then they went off and did their own thing again. And now, how many billions of dollars are Fortnite making?
Yeah.
Remember, they focused more on the engine side.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, NetEase.
And Fortnite was a joke.
They're huge. Yeah. NetEase is
it wasn't
a joke. Yeah.
And like Fortnite was a low joke for the longest time because it was waiting years to be released, and then they finally did the Save the World thing, and then they added Battle Royale, and boom, lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. But what if Adam's right, but NetEase has Bungie make mobile games? What if they sell out in that direction?
Well, I mean,
it's not
their choice.
Well, I mean, look at
it is their choice.
Over the last year, Activision has lost over 33% of their stock value, right? This is why they're liquidating stuff. This is why they're gutting Blizzard. This is why they sold off Destiny, because they need liquidity. They're losing money.
Sure.
Even after the sales of Black Ops 4, whatever, their investors are leaving, right? So they needed to do something drastic. But the thing is, like, Bungie doesn't have a good track record. They said, just like Adam said, I don't believe them either.
No.
They like divested from Microsoft. We're not the Halo studio. We're gonna do something else. Then they became the Destiny studio as soon as Activision threw money at them.
I made that joke a long time ago. They left from being the Microsoft studio, saying we don't want to be the Halo studio, and they just went on to just do another game.
I mean, for the longest time, people were like, "Oh, Microsoft should let them go, let them breathe. Come on now," and it was a whole big thing. And then, just like what we're saying now, people were like super happy. Yeah, this is gonna be great. And then they sided up with Activision.
Yeah, but you know what though? I think for a lot of those people, it has been great. I mean, the Destiny community is pretty strong and vocal.
Yeah, they're significant. Yeah.
I mean, and that's something that hasn't really, like, what other game has a community like that?
And by the way, most of us play that game too. So
yeah,
PUBG.
Right, with the Division, a Division game is a game that followed in Destiny's footsteps.
Yeah, but even
they kept supporting it.
Community,
right?
Like a lot of online games, like they dwindle down to a core audience, and then still hold them fairly captive. Like, but let me ask this, like, because I know Destiny, like, some people think it's good, some people think it's not good. Like, I think objectively though, it wasn't like a critical success. So, like, let me ask, when was the last time Bungie actually released a critically acclaimed game?
Wait a minute. You don't think Destiny 2? Destiny
was up
2?
there.
Let's go to Metacritic.
It may have dropped off, but it
Forsaken,
definitely won.
Forsaken
Yeah,
got good reviews too because of that new mode they threw in, the Gambit.
Brett,
yeah.
Brett, let's not forget, everyone was drinking the fucking Kool-Aid when Destiny came out.
Oh yeah.
I'm a
I
glad member. I was in the front lines.
I wasn't.
Trash.
Well, you know, everybody
talked about it.
Everybody was in for Dinklebot. That's what it was.
Carlos, I think Carlos and I were the only two at the time to talk about
that Destiny was, man. I saw that shit as soon as I played that demo.
But I'm talking about in hindsight. Like in hindsight, yes, it was lauded at the time, but it didn't deliver what it promised. It fell off pretty quickly, and a lot of people still kind of, as a whole, have a bad taste in their mouth over the Destiny thing. So I don't really count that. And Destiny 2 did not really, it didn't dazzle a whole lot of people.
Destiny 2 is an 85 on Metacritic.
Yeah, and Destiny 1 is a 76.
And 85 on PS4, 87 on Xbox One.
And that's the thing. It reviewed great, but the community didn't grow. And that was the concern. And that's why Activision acted the way they were with all the comments about sales and this and that, and what they were figuring, because they thought it was going to be a continuous growth. They're like, this is it. It's out. We fixed the issues from the first one. The second one's going to have all these other things. We got the story. You wanted a story? We got a story. Right. And it just didn't happen.
Remember when we were playing, we beat the campaign. Yeah. All we were doing was just going from one spot to the other so we can get it.
We were farming. That was it.
That's all there was to Destiny 2 multiplayer for a long time.
Yeah. That's it.
So and this is where it gets confusing. Like, yeah, it gets rated critically. It got rated high, but does anybody here have good things to say in hindsight about Destiny 2? Or are they kind of like, it was all right for a little while. It was just mediocre at best.
The dance parties were fun.
It feels like it's getting somewhere, and that's the issue. And that's why everyone's like, well, when the next update comes or when the next big patch, it feels like it's going to get there. And I think that's what a lot of people are hoping for with Destiny 3, or the fact that Bungie's gone solo doing their thing. They're like, oh, well, the chains are off. Now they're going to give us what they really want. But this was what they really wanted.
Yeah, but that's my thing. Like, there's no evidence to show that.
But that's what I'm saying. Everyone just has this hope. So, I mean, now it's up to Bungie to really fulfill that. To say, hey, all right, these are all the things that we couldn't add, which I just don't believe that that's there. There is no magic bag in the back. I don't see that, but everyone wants to believe that this. It's great that they cut off from Activision, but I don't have this hope that the next one is going to be amazing. It's going to blow everything away. Why would they hold back on all of that? That makes no sense.
Yeah, Tony, I've got a question for you for everybody. It seems like the consensus here is that we're down on Destiny. What does that say for Anthem? We're 6 weeks away.
I'm really excited for Anthem as one of the biggest critics of Destiny.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Basically, here the guys who are the biggest critics of Destiny are hyped for Anthem, and the guys who are at least okay with Destiny are like, I don't know about the game, myself included. I think Anthem. Again, my fear is if Anthem doesn't do well, I fear for the future of Bioware within EA.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing.
Yes.
But at the same time, I don't want to go in there and tell people to support the game, because if the game is trash, you shouldn't be supporting it. But I have no hopes for this game. Not really. I'm gonna play it myself, obviously, to judge it myself. But I have no expectations for it.
To be honest, I think Anthem just looks like another rope-a-dope, just like fucking.
Looks like it's jumping on the Destiny bandwagon, but
it's just I don't. I mean, to be honest, again, like I played the demo of Destiny and I said, you know what? I know what this is. It's it's an unending wheel of the same events over and over and over again that doesn't have any sort of progression. You don't get anywhere. You just constantly gain levels and get treasure. I don't like that.
Yeah. Now, just quick, just to you go kind of rope it back around. Okay, Anthem. We kind of agree it's in the vein of Destiny, right?
Right.
But we also just said that type of shooting game is not in vogue anymore.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah. So what is that?
I'm not excited for it. After what happened at E3, that was
crazy. Yeah. What does that make of Anthem then? If that style of shooter is no longer the hot thing,
right?
I think it is. I think Destiny has just mismanaged it. Here's what the best way I can put it. I think that Destiny showed a natural progression / evolution of MMOs into consoles. And I think that kind of thing is going to be inevitable. And they sold a lot of people on a dream. They failed to deliver that dream 100% to a lot of people's expectation. But what it did was show that there is a market interest for this kind of game if done well. And ever since then, everybody's been kind of trying to, reach for it and trying to figure out what it is about that idea that so entices people and do it correctly. But as of yet, I think we have yet to see a game that is a fully realized vision of what Destiny was supposed to do.
Well, what about
supposed
the
to be
Division?
hit the mark?
What about what?
What's that?
The Division.
The Division.
Division's another one.
It probably got the closest, but it took so long to get there that a lot of people jumped off.
Yeah,
And
Not Adam.
What happened is that a lot of the content they had spread out over time, and it's sort of like that. What happened with Destiny? They didn't realize how fast people were going to run through it.
Yeah.
And that content was just not ready. So then you had all these people just twiddling their thumbs, like, all right, Dark Zone or the regular zone, what's going on? Where's all the other content? Finally, it came out, and some of the audience already had dropped off. But when it did come out, it was awesome. And then it was always that whole thing of trying to lure people back in it. They're like, oh, but we got to get the DLC and stuff, which is why they say, you know what? Second go around, all that stuff is there. It's already in there. We're not defining community. Everything is there. And they learn from their mistakes. So that's the issue that we saw with Destiny. It's just you need a lot of content. People go in on these games hardcore. Back in the day, 10, 20 hours, people kind of complain. Now they're down for 100 hours, especially if there's something that they're really interested in. And developers just have to understand this is what they want. Got to fill it up with content. Got to get
Brian playing 1,000 hours of Warframe.
And then if you don't have all the content, I mean, Red Dead had all the content, but man, if they were like, hey, we're gonna drag this out, no fast travel, buddy. Get on your horse, get on your fucking horse, and go across this damn island here. Go. They added that time. Yeah, it sucked, but there was stuff to do, and it was long, so you can't bitch.
He can.
Yeah, so
well, it comes back to the point. It comes back to the point that not every game is for everybody.
Yes.
Because some people see Destiny and Destiny 2 as a big grind fest. Like, okay, it's cool when you get into the first going here, but you really need to stick with it to get up to level 30 and everything like that. And then say you put it aside for a while, and then you get back in and you see people, you're level 1, they're level 29, 48, whatever, and you feel like you've fallen behind and you have no way to catch up. And a lot of people give up on the game at that point. Others feel the need to progress it. I mean, it's not a game built for everybody. And I think Activision was trying to make it a game that was built for everybody. And somewhere along the way, that logic may have gotten lost.
I had some buddies that still play, and they were like, oh, yeah, you should jump in. I was like, what's your light level? And I was like 2 something. I was like, oh, you can't play with us. Peace.
Yep.
And that was
the gate and shit. Mine's is like 300. I can't even do nothing,
Yeah.
So speaking of games like this, games that are like Destiny, but one that does not gate you that way is Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, if you haven't played in a year, because the game came out 11 months ago, if you haven't played since day one, you can go in today and meet up with some friends and have a great time with Sea of Thieves.
That's Brett's game of the year right there, man.
Play with Brett.
Sea of Thieves never really had like a leveling system. It was all based off of equipment that you got.
Right. It was there was no leveling, but that's the right way. Like, that is a smarter way to do it. If you're gonna have one of these games that obviously it makes sense to have a progression, give players carrots for them, some things that they can achieve, and then you can level up and become more powerful, do all the bullshit. But at the same time, you don't want to have the situations where like Adam was just talking about, where I can't play with my friends who are convincing me to come back and play because I'm too small.
And you just hit the nail on the head. Okay, let's put it in a formula real quick. The big problem that multiplayer games have is they have 3 options that they can give you for progression, right? You can get permanent loot, aka the classic World of Warcraft mode, where each level you get up and you get new equipment that replaces your old equipment. It's the problem with that, though, is it's a carrot on a stick. You constantly have to be turning that wheel. You constantly have to be raising the level bar, and people who get left behind don't have the option to compete or be able to even play with the characters. The other option, the second option you have, is what survival online games are doing now, where you lose your loot. You may keep your character progression and the ability to make this loot, but you build things and you lose them. That tends to keep the game fresh in the sense that you can't just make the most powerful sword. Because, I mean, you can, but eventually someone's going to kill you and take that sword, and then you no longer have it, and that kind of refreshes your game style. Or what Sea of Thieves did is the third option, where there just isn't a progression system. Everything is cosmetic, and you just unlock cool little things that don't necessarily help. But those are the only three. It all boils down to
one.
What's the fourth one?
With Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where right in front of you, first half hour, it's like, oh, that guy's level 10. You're 1. Grind for it. Peace.
Well, I'm talking in multiplayer games only. Like, because of the you can do single player games a number of different ways. And you see that happen with the sequel syndrome a lot, where they're like, congratulations, you're powerful. Oh no, all your powers got taken.
Right.
Right at the beginning of the game,
Yeah, but in terms of multiplayer games, like, you have to find a way to reset that cycle. So you either well, you should, or so you either just A, never do, like Sea of Thieves, B, you have losable things, like a lot of survival games, and I think that's why they're gaining traction. Or, the third option is the one that we've always had. You just have this constant power creep, and there's so many problems with that, and it honestly ends up being a fairly exploitative system. That's the oldest one in the book. That's the one Warcraft pioneered. Everybody's been fucking trying to copy since then.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's no question that these sorts of ideas need to be revised, but it's not always. A lot of these guys, all they really do is just kind of take what was done before, as opposed to really sort of innovating.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, that's why I like the survival mechanism.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, it is safer. Yeah, it's interesting. All right, any last thoughts on this whole Bungie Activision situation?
I'm curious. Can somebody explain to me, at the risk of sounding ignorant, like, how did they separate?
They didn't really.
Which one? From Microsoft or from the Activision?
Activision.
From
We're not talking
Activision.
about Microsoft.
How did they separate themselves from
I'm just
Activision?
saying that was an ugly one. We're
talking about the current one. Did they even?
They said it was.
Did
Activision throw them out? Did they buy themselves out? Like, what happened exactly?
It was an amicable agreement, if I understand.
Yeah,
like,
that's
they've
what
been
they're
working
saying.
this out for some time. Like Deej over there on Twitter, a community manager for Bungie, talk about it's been in the works for some time, that they've been trying to figure out the best way for separation. And I guess somewhere along the way, like, Bungie, I believe, made some sort of agreement so they could keep their game operating, like, through Battle.net. Obviously, because that seems to be the premier partner for PC, at least for the moment. You never know, at a game store. But, I mean, they made some agreement where they continue running the game and take care of its development from here on in, and Activision just backs out, maybe got a little bit of some. I mean, I don't know if they got any money out of it, but it just sounded like somewhere along the way they worked out this stuff where Activision realized it wasn't really working the way they were intending. So, like they do with other stuff that fails for them, they cut them loose.
And I guess what we could wait for just to hear is just like most of these things when it happens, see the devs to see how many of them actually stay and leave, that type of thing. If we see a lot of them ship, then we know what was really going on.
It's funny that you say that, because I was going to bring up another point here, and that's a lot of people seem to be bailing out on Activision Blizzard. Like today, I learned that Mike Morhaime, the guy who created Blizzard, he is leaving entirely as of April. I mean, he stepped down as president, but now he's a special advisor. But in April, that role will come to an end, and it has a lot of people wondering just what is going on with Blizzard. I mean, they already lost their CFO and their CFO replacement.
Yeah,
but now they're losing one of the main people. And it's a lot of questions.
I mean, the thing is that they were, the previous, one of the former, creators of, one of the other, I guess the 9 men you want to call of Blizzard, he had been gone from Blizzard for years. He was one of the guys who commented on the whole, Diablo on the Diablo mobile game. Saying that this was a big mistake, and Blizzard has gone through all these different changes.
He left at the time of the merger. He was probably not on board with Activision merging with Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
The thing now is all the signs point to that people are bailing on Blizzard. It's probably imploding from within. That Heroes of the Storm debacle was the first sign that they were having problems. And they're going to continue to have issues because they're bleeding talent. They're actually paying people to leave because they don't have enough projects going on for all the developers. So they're paying people to leave. And then at the top, if you can't keep your CFO, if your CFO replacement comes in and goes, "Oh, this is I actually boarded the Titanic while it's sinking. Excuse me, I'm just going to get off." Like it's bad.
It ties in with a mentality that these companies, like, they embraced all these bold ideas years ago. Both Activision and EA did that. Like Activision, we got stuff like Blur, we got all these different games, and now of course those studios have been closed down because those games didn't work out, despite the fact that years later we still consider them cult classics. EA, we had Dead Space, some of the best horror games out there. It's still an amazing trilogy. Say what you want about Dead Space 3, but it was fun. But then Visceral shuts down. We're running into this thing where these companies are more focused about the business of gaming rather than the games themselves. And it almost seems like it's catching up with them in a way. Like with EA, it happened when that Battlefront 2 loot box bullshit kind of did everything, and people are complaining now about FIFA and Madden doing too much with payouts, and then obviously Activision now with Blizzard and with these concerns about Destiny. So I'm starting to think, are these companies just trying to get back to the way it was, or are they just trying to at least, do they even know what they want?
I don't think they can go back to the way it was.
I think I like the idea of innovation, so I'd love to see it back.
Like you said, they're completely profit driven, and we saw that like Diablo Immortal. And now with everybody yelling about Alien Blackout, like it's obvious where they're going. They're like, oh, our investors want mobile. They say we should get into mobile, make a mobile game. And it's like, it doesn't work, and they keep doing it. They don't know where to go. So they're going for the easy money.
It reeks of desperation. Like in the context of all of this information, all of a sudden the Diablo mobile game makes perfect sense in the sense that they're being like, we are kind of hemorrhaging money and we don't actually know what's going to be successful and hitch. So we're going to try and just follow the numbers, and the numbers say make a mobile game.
Let's be pragmatic for a second. They don't know what's going to be a hit.
No, nobody.
I mean, there is the
idea.
There is the idea that some retro games are working for Activision, like Spyro sold really well.
Right,
Crash Team Racing is getting a lot of buzz, but they still don't know what a firm plan is. Do we bring back Blur? Do we bring back this?
I mean, the thing is, it's just like, it's just like the movies and everything else. It's like, all right, well, we've and Activision has kind of gone through this before, and I'm kind of glad they didn't do with Destiny what they did with Guitar Hero. Which was they just and
ran it into the ground,
right? And we're doing with Call of Duty, where they just like let's iterate, just annualize this stupid thing
every year,
right? Until people get tired of it, and luckily that didn't happen for Destiny fans. It didn't happen with Destiny, but now they say, all right, look. We've gotten, like I said before, we've gotten as much blood from the stone as we think we possibly can for what it's worth for us. Let's let them go with it, and cut our ties, and then try and figure out what the next big thing is and work on that. And and we're gonna throw a bunch of shit on the wall, and we're gonna see what sticks.
I don't know.
Because we can afford to do that.
Yeah. I feel like I don't think they're gonna throw a bunch of stuff at the wall. I think it's.
But they are throwing a bunch of shit at the wall right now.
Yeah.
No.
That's what we're seeing happening. They are just, but they're throwing what investors are telling them to.
Well, no. I mean, as far as throwing shit at the wall, I mean, I would think that would be new experiences, but they're not exactly doing new experiences.
They're not doing. No, it's not about new. It's just like let's throw things that have worked.
They're just taking the old shit and trying to throw more monetization opportunity on top of it. To be honest, like nowadays, I think the biggest issue with most video game companies is because they can't take those sorts of risks anymore because of just how much making a game takes these days.
Right.
How much money it takes to create them.
It's not even that much of budget, but the ROI they expect from a game. The definition of what a hit is has changed so much because it's being defined by investors instead of being defined by the industry. Right?
Well, it's always been defined by profit, right? Like,
right. But Square Enix, I think, really put it on the map.
But look, I think that's why I like the indie scene so much. It's not so much expectation from investors, so much as just guys saying, "Hey, you know what? This game will be a hit."
But I mean, you see where the innovation happens. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen on the big guys. It's going to happen on the smaller.
Yeah, but innovation—that's a little bit of a different conversation.
like the way it originally was when games were first created. Why do you think we had so many games coming out left and right? Because they weren't putting any fucking money in it. There was just a little bit of blah 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 blah, and then you got it out there. Nowadays, you have 5 years of development for every single game.
Well, yes, and you're absolutely right. But when video games were in its nascence, it was easier to have one guy make a game in 6 weeks because
a 5-person team.
Right. Because the experience, like as gamers, as consumers, we hadn't experienced so much, before. So now, as now that we're 4 decades into video games as a consumable, you've got to do more to impress me as Joe consumer. So that means more teams, that means more money, that means more whiz bang things and widgets and shit that you got to put in there, which
or stronger, faster,
or you get a bunch of half steps like Titanfall 1 or that or Evolve game where it's essentially like we don't have enough time to develop a full game, so we just develop the gameplay, and you'll figure it out.
We'll patch it up later in 5 weeks.
Exactly.
I think what it is, I think it's a matter of understanding. There are AAA publishers out there that do care what happened with their franchises, like Bandai Namco. They brought back Soul Calibur. They're bringing back Ace Combat next week, which I'm freaking psyched for. And then, of course, Capcom, Resident Evil, Onimusha, Dragon's Dogma even gets love. I don't know why it just does, but it's just you see these people actually care about their franchises where other ones are just willy-nilly. Oh, this is better for business. And I don't know. It just seems like there's a very big lack of balance there.
Well, those are, you just talked about 2 Japanese franchises, companies versus American companies.
Yep.
So,
the focus is kind of different with them. Like think about this, like a company like Capcom is not as big as like Ubisoft or Activision, right? Those companies, for them, it's all about the money in the end. Capcom, obviously, they want to make money, but they're trying to please the fans. Yeah,
they're not Western as Ubisoft and EA and Activision. That's the difference. I think there is a cultural component to that. To that stuff.
There really, there really is.
I mean, look at Konami. Konami makes one game. It's a soccer game. And then everything else they do is like pachinko machines and water
and Metal Gear Survive.
But those pachinko machines, that's where they make most of their bread from.
They're making their money there. But if EA
it's actually pachinko machines and mobile.
But see, the lesson here is like what happened with Konami before that started happening. What happened after Metal Gear Solid 5? They bled talent. People were running out the door.
They bled talent because of their draconian work culture. Sure.
And now Activision's facing the same problem. And they don't know what to do, so they're shuttering parts of Blizzard. Like, oh, guys, we got to save money. Kill the Heroes of the Storm esports. Kill this, whatever.
Meanwhile, the executives
still crying about that.
Meanwhile, executives are still getting paid top dollar.
That's the American way, man. Come on.
Fail your way to the top.
But as Chris was saying though, like when the people are bleeding, the Activision's bleeding talent. Remember when there was a game called Modern Warfare 2? And there was a developer called Infinity Ward.
Yep.
And Activision and EA were on the list of worst places to work in America. And the guys at Infinity Ward left. And we thought,
they were thrown out. They were thrown out.
Right. Yeah.
They wanted more money and they got fired.
Right. Exactly. They were like, hey, we're the cash cow now, pay us what we're worth. And Activision was like, go somewhere. and so they did. And not, so I mean, this is like, I think it's important for us to give these types of things the attention it deserves, but I think it's also important for us to not be disrespectful to history and pretend as if we haven't already lived these similar experiences with the same company before. This is just a cycle, and games go through these cycles, companies go through these cycles, especially when they're large organizations that have been around as long as companies like Electronic Arts and Activision.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's what Adam. That's your whole deal. It's like you've seen this before, you know.
I've seen it. That's what I'm saying. I was like, I've seen all of this. It's like deja vu. We've seen it, been there, done that. So I have low expectations.
Yeah. Anyway, you know, we'll keep an eye on this. Obviously, like you said, Cicero, right? It's just the hot takes right now. This shit just dropped. We'll see. It's going to be interesting for sure. Anyway, let's move on to some.
And then tomorrow they'll be like, Destiny 2 update.
Yeah, right. It's interesting, man. Anyway, let's move on here to some different news. More of the hardware in here. This one's kind of fun. Okay, so Xbox One, according to Metacritic, had no positively reviewed exclusives in 2018. Before we move on, the criteria is basically didn't have any games rated 90 or above. So that's what they base it on. And last year, what did they have? They had Sea of Thieves. They had State of Decay 2, Forza Horizon, even Forza Horizon.
Because it came out on PC too.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
They were going for shock value.
Yeah.
Right. It was the most clickbait of articles I have seen in a very, very long time.
It was
like I felt like that article was, or that at least that headline was written by Donald Trump, man. I mean, that shit was like, yes, you know, all the former
Polygon.
Right. All the former presidents
I'm looking right at
didn't review.
I'm looking right at Forza Horizon's 4 scores. It's 92, so you can tell right off the bat. This game is amazing.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to my man Kid Smooth because he said it right too. He's like, they also didn't have any negatively reviewed games.
Thank you.
Oh, man, it's kind of funny, but it's just weird that Metacritic came out to say that. It's like, why would they do that? You know, it's kind of weird.
Why are they even
to get attention? To get attention, like every other site.
I mean, it was a great clickbait. It was a great clickbait headline. It's simply because of the nature of how Xbox does business now, where all of their exclusive titles are also released simultaneously on the PC. So you could say that there are no games exclusive to the Xbox. Because there are no games exclusive to the Xbox.
Yeah, but okay. By the way, this goes back to how you were saying that this is bullshit. Think about it like this, right? Theoretically speaking, all these Xbox games could be rated 100, and that headline would still be correct.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
It's funny,
yeah,
man.
but this isn't about proving them up. For crying out loud, I could say, you know, Sea of Thieves has a score of 69 and add a headline, nice. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying, if I want to get attention, I can just put 69 in there, and there it is. But you know, but it is very clickbaity, and it really paints a negative picture on the Xbox One, just because you know, Crackdown 3 got delayed to February. It's finally coming, you know, and it's just. Microsoft's building up to something. That does not mean they're having a bad time. You know, they're doing fine. It's just a matter of. Everybody gets in a lull sometimes. Look at Sony and the PlayStation 3. That was a lull until they introduced like Uncharted or whatever. So it happens.
Anything could happen.
Bingo. And with all the talent they're picking up, it's probably going to start next year. Although we are getting some good stuff this year. I mean, like I said, I am actually excited for Crackdown 3. I want to see Terry Crews blow up shit because I do.
All right, I'm glad you are because we were asked on through your questions, what game do we think is going to be a flop, and almost all of us said Crackdown 3 is going to be a
really?
flop. Yeah, I'm not sure about that game, man.
I think
see, Cicero, you either right? It's like, I don't know.
I think the thing about Crackdown is it's a middle tier game. It's not a big one. And a lot of people are trying to install it like it's a must-have sort of game. Crackdown was never that.
No, it was never right. Crackdown. People seem to forget this again. It is always important. While we can wax poetic about nostalgia and all this other stuff, it's always important to keep those things in perspective. The reason that Crackdown is so beloved is because everyone bought that game to play the demo
for Halo
of some other game, and then was like, oh well, you know what? Let me try this other game out while I'm waiting for the Halo demo to start, and was like, oh wow, this game is actually pretty fun, and that's what made Crackdown great, was the fact that no one saw it coming, and then what happened was they thought then they thought, oh, we've got something here. Let's give them some other goofy ideas, and the goofy ideas were dumb, and that's what you got with Crackdown 2, and that it was half baked. And
well, it's because the people left.
Right.
The main developer of that one left. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not working on this. I'm going to start my own studio."
Yeah. Well, wise.
And they scrambled. They were like, "Well, what do we got? We just have this world. So throw zombies in it." So when people got Crackdown 2, like I did day one, I jump in. I'm like, "This is the same map," and it really was entirely the same map, just doing some zombies. Right. I was like, "This is horrible."
And more multiplayer. Yeah. It's just. So what we're going to get with Crackdown 3, even if what we get with Crackdown 3 is more of the original Crackdown, it will be fun and I'll be excited for that. But Crackdown was not a system seller because Crackdown was great. Crackdown was a system seller because Crackdown was a surprise.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with something but taking you by surprise. I mean, case in point, that Overdrive,
Right. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with taking someone by surprise, but the problem is the third game in a franchise can't take you by surprise.
People have expectations now.
Right.
know?
And we were hoping it would go back to the first one. It was like, well, they have plenty of time.
Well, and maybe it will. Maybe
maybe it'll come with a demo of Halo 6,
Right.
Look,
damn, Tony.
I think what it is, I approach games with optimism. There's always the chance a game could suck. Like, if Red Dead Redemption 2 has so much hype building behind it, there was that fear that maybe it wouldn't live up to the hype. I always have that lingering in the back of my head, but I'm always open to an idea that, okay, maybe Anthem will be good. Maybe Crackdown 3 will be good. And people kind of, be like, oh, come on, this looks like shit. And be like, no, look at the aspects. It may not be a game changer, but looks like it's going to be fun. Now, I could be wrong. I've been that way a few times, but I think it's that level of optimism that keeps things hopeful. I mean, otherwise, if we just say, oh, this is going to suck, oh, this is going to suck, oh, but Resident Evil is going to rule, and that's when things get a little jaded. I mean, that's my perspective.
Right. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that perspective. In fact, it's the perspective that more people should have. I think part of the problem with Crackdown is that it's been on the stage for so long.
Like since 2013, I think, when it got announced.
Yeah, right? Literally me and Tony's first E3 7 years ago, right?
Right.
Yes, almost. Yeah, like 6 years ago. It was.
Oh, I was with you guys.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Right. So it got announced with the launch of with the Xbox One X or with the Xbox One.
It
was that's right. That's right.
So since this generation has begun, this is a game that not only was promised but was continually talked about. So at the big trade shows, you got demos for this game. And then when you finally didn't get demos for the game, people were like, well, where the hell is the demo for this game that you guys keep saying is on its way? And that was the problem. And I think that's a problem that a lot of the companies have is that they show stuff well before it is actually ready.
Yep.
Yeah, not to mention the consistent delays taking the wind out of its sails.
Right.
When me and Tony first saw that trailer, Larry Hab, Major Nelson was there. We talked to him a little bit, and he was just talking. He was like, "So is it ready? He's like, no, that's not for a while." So he's like, "That just a trailer. We're just announcing that it's coming."
Right.
And sometimes all you need is that announcement to kick things up. But like I said, it's the thing. I'm excited for Battletoads. I was wearing the shirt when they announced it last year. People thought it was crazy, but who's crazy now? But we haven't seen a lick of gameplay. Thank you. I try my best. I mean, we haven't seen a lick of gameplay or anything, but the idea that they're going back to the old school for it. I mean, for all we know, it might be to some people another Conquer Live and Reloaded where it's too much on graphics and not so much on gameplay. But I'm still eager to see what it is. Sure. And again, that optimism comes into play.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, Robert, that's one of the things I like about you. You're like hopelessly, fucking
hopelessly off.
Yes.
Thanks, Tony.
It's like, damn, dude, you like everything.
No, he's very optimistic. That's good though. I mean,
hopelessly optimistic.
I don't sit here. I don't go to Tony and be like, well, fuck Anthem.
I'm with Robert. I'm I was very excited for Battletoads, and I think they were smart. They used the metadata from Killer Instinct and tested the character. They put Ward or someone in there as a fighter, right? They could see who was using him, and they could see the excitement. And people were like, Why don't you have a Battletoads game? They saw many people played Rare Replay and what they played on it, right?
Right.
You know, so
Battletoads Arcade.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
I'm just saying there is that level of optimism, but there's also that fear. Like, if Battletoads got delayed until 2022, yeah, I'd be a little bit worried. But they said this year, and it sounds like nothing's going wrong with it. Phil said he's seen it and it looks good. So fingers crossed.
Knock on wood. Well, he
Knock on
also said he saw that Dragon game and it looked good.
Yeah, but I don't know what happened with that. I don't know, but hey, look, Platinum's back. They're giving us Bayonetta 3. We're good. They're giving us Bayonetta 3. I'm good.
Yeah. So I will say this. We're gonna right before you transition into the next thing. I know I've said some pretty critical things about Microsoft, but my Xbox is still my preferred platform to play. Obviously its exclusives in quotes Metacritic and my third party games because I've bought into them as a service. I've bought into the idea of my software living beyond this generation. I've bought into the idea of it doesn't matter when the next console comes out. All of my experiences are going to carry over with me. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And I really, really appreciate Microsoft as a service.
It's funny because you saying that is so different than what's going on in the zeitgeist. The minute that you say, and it's already been the writing on the wall, and you saw it, and everybody in here knows this. Microsoft is not going to be an Xbox. It's going to be a service, but Xbox is going to be the service.
Yes,
it's going to exist on everything.
Yeah, I think that'll be awesome still. Like we said before, if it's on the Switch, or like we said, they want to have it on the iPad and stuff.
You hear a lot of people as soon as when we were first saying that, people were calling us all crazy on the show, like, "Oh, there's not
a bunch of ponies saying that shit."
A bunch of ponies.
Yeah, look, it's happening now. It's happening now.
Well, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing about.
It makes perfect sense for a company like Microsoft. Why is it, they own an operation system, they own tablets, and why isn't this video game service on everything that they
hold on? You're trying to tell me that the company that was founded on computers is putting their games on computers? That's crazy. That shit
exactly
don't
make no sense. Right. It doesn't make, to be honest, it didn't make any sense when Xbox first released. I'm like, wait, okay. You can't play PC games on the Xbox. You can't play Xbox games on the PC.
This was a direct Xbox, motherfucker.
Right. Exactly.
There was a Q&A that with Major Nelson, some people asked questions, and one guy raised his name to go, so why are you guys deciding to go all in on putting games on PC? Is it because that's our platform? It's on Windows.
Right.
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I guess that is your platform.
Somebody looks stupid. Anyway, let's move on here. On the flip side here, PlayStation 4 has officially sold 91.6 million units. Sony was bragging about that at the beginning of the week. Pretty interesting. It's like, who doesn't have a PS4 at this point? But dudes are still buying it. So, and I think this goes to show that we're gonna get to that 100 million pretty soon. Maybe by the end of the year,
probably by summer, or if not sooner.
Summer could be, that could be it.
Because they do have the games. They got like Dreams and Days Gone coming up sometime.
Right, Last of Us 2
and Medieval. Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding. They've got a good line.
Not coming out on the PlayStation 4.
Hey,
I think it's going to be a crossover. I think it's going to be a crossover game.
Yeah, it could be
this year, supposedly.
Just like that end of generation game. It's on.
It could be just like Metal Gear 5, where it's like the end of generation. Yeah, it did still come out on PlayStation 3, but
and Robert, this is a conversation you and I had. Remember, the PS4 is still going to sell when PS5 is out.
It's going to be out for years. Yeah, it's going to be like the Xbox 360 lasted for several years behind the Xbox One. I think it just finally died out last year.
Yeah.
So there's always that potential that PS4 is going to live on for a little while longer, but it's just interesting because it was a matter of actually lost my train of thought. Sorry, but the way that you could balance that out, keep interest in the PS4. I mean, Sony's doing it the right way. They don't need to be at E3 2019. Their decision does have some merit behind it, but by the same token, you know, when are we going to see PS5? You know, there's that balance there, and you got to wonder what their game plan is.
Well, I mean, I think it's well. I
believe it's PSX later this year that we're going to get hints about a PS5, but that's just me. Go ahead.
I think it's just going to be like, I don't even think it's going to be a open to the public event. It'll be an event like they have for the PS4 Pro, where they just announce it to a small group of people, stream it live, talk about the specs and, you know, all that jazz.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting about the two companies is, and I think Sony benefited from the fact that they've got kick-ass first parties, and the software is amazing, but also benefited from the PR disaster of Microsoft and really kind of played that up. But I think it's interesting to see the philosophical differences between Sony's approach, the Sony's classic approach of console generations, and presumably this progressive approach by Microsoft with regards to how your software library, you know, what your software library is going to be like, going to look like, and how you're going to be able to utilize it.
Well, what you understand, I mean, like when Xbox One was announced, they tried to make it look like a multimedia thing. Like, okay, you could talk to your Kinect and do the movies and everything like that. Sony's like, we got games.
Right.
Here come games, and we're $100 cheaper.
Right. Yeah. So that's the silly shit to me. I never understood why that played. Like when the guys over at Apple, and you know, in fact, in February, the end of February, Samsung's gonna announce a new phone. Right? They're gonna sit around and they're gonna talk about cameras. They're gonna talk about Bixby. They're going to talk about the speed. They're going to talk about the battery life. They're going to talk about storage. They'll talk about pricing. When are they going to talk about it makes phone calls? Like,
never.
Do you need to know?
That's madness. I'm
right. Do you
the
need
antennas
to
are
know?
always having issues, even on the new one it has issues.
But do you need to know that the mobile device, the thing in your pocket, actually also makes phone calls? Like, yes, no shit, it makes phone calls. I don't need you to talk to me about that.
But I think with the gaming
community, hold on. Finish your point, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I think it's just, I thought it was asinine, and you know, and the way the industry is kind of played out this generation has proven that to be the truth. But I think it's asinine that people sat back and was like, "Oh, my system always has to be online. You're not giving me the choice. I've got to buy. You know, I got to download."
They weren't ready for it. That was a problem.
It was we talked about this. Go ahead.
Like Henry Ford said, if I asked the person before I made the Model T, if I asked the person what they needed, they would say, "I needed a faster horse, not a car," because a person is smart, but people are dumb. And that is what's the fortune favors the bold. And if you go out and you stick to your guns because you know better than them, just, you know, they'll figure it out.
Well, here's the interesting thing about that. And we said this on the show many times. The problem wasn't that people didn't like those ideas. They didn't like the way they were told about those ideas. Just think about it. All those things have come to pass, and no one's saying anything anymore. Like always online games, no one cares anymore. That's just a given, you know.
Oh, digital, get all your games digital reach the same day. No, I don't want that. I want to go to the store.
But it was the way Microsoft presented it, where it's like, okay, we're giving this to you, and that's it. You know,
right? It was $5.99. You will get another job, right?
Remember Don Matrick is like, oh, we have a system that plays offline. It's called the Xbox 360. Like, my man,
exactly. Yeah,
really?
They chose the wrong way to say to people. Sure. And to be honest, when you're going to as a person who is going, suppose the regular consumer, what is looking for the next video game, and then all of a sudden you're talking about TV and all the different things that it can do other besides actually playing the games. Number one, video gamers, what do you want to see when you go to a game convention? You don't want to see that your fucking Xbox plays Netflix. You want to see how good the goddamn graphics look.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get to see,
gamers have a different expectation, though.
I mean, yeah, I can tell my TV. Yeah. I can tell my TV I want to watch Star Trek. Guess what? I can turn on the TV, press the remote button. I got to watch Star Trek.
You know
Magic.
what? I've got my Xbox. My Kinect is still hooked up. I've got my cable box going through my Xbox. Yeah. I love that presentation because it showed that my Xbox could be a multimedia device. I've got two Xboxes.
There is a time and a place, and
that's a hot take right there. You like that presentation, bro?
Yep.
Wow.
I stand by him. I liked it too. Remember, I was a day one also.
The first reveal.
I made a lot of enemies off of my write up for that shit.
The real thing they really should have shown first and foremost, is how much of a graphical improvement that this thing was over the thing, and then once you got everybody drooling, that's when you tell them, oh yeah, this shit can record all your TV.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, showing something doesn't mean it always works. Remember with that whole PlayStation 3 presentation when they had Killzone 3 and it wasn't Killzone 3. It was,
but here's the thing.
Or Killzone 2. Killzone 2
was Killzone 2.
And it wasn't even a game. It was a movie.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing is that was the other the thing that always happens though. It's like where they wanna impress you out the gate, right? Obviously, then it was like, okay, we can just put this smoke screen up and still say it was graphics.
But here's the interesting thing, right? If you look back at the way Xbox One was rolled out as a whole, it actually worked. Think about it like this: that presentation that came out, it's like they didn't really focus on games, right? They focused on the application or whatever. But then 2 months later at E3, they focused on nothing then we got the fuller picture of what the system was capable of.
I think that was the after all the smoke cleared from that previous thing, right? Like then you had this thing that told you, okay, now it was all games. To be honest, even when me and Tony watched that one live, we're like, this is a damn good presentation. We got a good idea as to what this thing does, how well the graphics look, what they got coming in store. And I think that was the thing we wanted to see. I think that's when it comes to messaging, especially with video game consoles and especially certain things, you got to prime people. You can't just drop something. You can't just drop change on somebody and expect them to enjoy it.
Yeah, gamers are very resistant to change too. You know,
but there's also potential. You can also tell something to potential. And Mike paid for the Nintendo Switch intro video. I mean, like, wait a minute, they're not catering to kids. Wait a minute, you can take it to drinking parties. Wait, what? I'm in.
See, we talk about the Blizzard Con thing, right? Where they talk about the mobile game. The total in would have been for them. You talk about normal Diablo, and then be like, oh yeah, we're also doing this mobile Diablo.
Yeah.
But again, they did that for the
how Bethesda did it a little bit. They're like, oh yeah, so it's like, yeah, we got this thing Fallout Online, right? We got Fallout Online, and everybody's like, but hey, Fallout New is coming out, and as well as another new game.
We all had a different view of that because when they announced it and they were talking about Xbox Record that, and they were showing gameplay, I was like, this is awesome. And they were showing the overlay and the fact that I could see the progress of my achievements and how close I am to obtaining them. I'm like, this is awesome. You know, you want to bring up a guide, you're lost, you want to bring up a walkthrough, you could just have that snapped on and you could watch it while you're playing. You could open the iPad and play. You can still do it. Yeah, you can still do it. You don't need to connect anymore for it though. But you can still do it.
Yeah, you can do it with your headphones now.
Yeah, you do it with your headphones. You know, so I was all in it. And I mean, the one feature that I really wanted, and they just never did, was the whole family plan. Remember?
Yes. And that we lost that. We lost that because because they couldn't be always online.
Yeah, I was like, that is awesome. What? I only have to have the person on at the front for a month. I can share games.
And I mean, this is some some real old man griping right here. But again, the idea that you were going to have a console in 2013 that wasn't consistently plugged onto the internet is the same as saying you would have a cell phone that didn't have cellular service.
Exactly.
Like like I've got a cell phone that only works on Wi-Fi. When I mean, come on, then you really don't have a phone, son. So like you really not gaming, and you know I'm sorry for those of you who have shitty suspect internet service. Well, you kind of got your way anyway. All the people that lived in theoretical land, it like they got their way, but it really
theoretical land, man.
Yes. I mean, look,
not everybody on this planet got amazing.
No,
you don't need
I'm not
theoretical land.
I'm not
Some people
talking
still use
about
AOL. I don't.
Right. I'm not talking about on the planet. I'm talking about in the country. So
you're talking about a country that has one of the poorest internet infrastructures in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you know what? You can still
always play online,
right? But you can still play online.
Yeah, well, sometimes, most times, and like the PS4 is throttled edit speeds. It only goes 100 megabytes per second. Like you can't push more data through that pipeline, so that's limiting the type of multiplayer games.
But you're still online.
Yeah.
You know,
I had internet connection for years that would go. Ask them, like I drop out in the middle of a podcast. It'd be gone for days. It'd be drop out every hour.
Yeah.
Like there were issues, and that wasn't anything to do with my fault. But like things have gotten a little bit better. Also, I got fiber now, so I don't personally give a fuck. But in 2013, it was still a real issue. I think the way that the idea was fine, but like man, the restrictions they had on it were a little strict.
But even what they were talking about, the always online, that was just a system check. That wasn't playing something. That wasn't resource hogging, and that was just like, hey, are you still there? Do you? Okay, got it.
Right.
Peace.
Right.
But then it was a constant system check, and that was the issue. Like it was way too constant.
About changing it. Like, all right, we'll change it.
It was 24 hours. It was 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then
it was always on, and you were always worried like the Kinect was watching you in another room or something.
I heard stories about that. Go ahead, Brian.
Like having it check for your internet connection every single day, that is ludicrous. Like that is way too much of a check.
Everything does that.
Yeah.
Everything does that.
Not Steam.
Even fridges do that.
No.
Right. Yeah.
Even
fridges do that.
Steam has a policy where it checks every 28 days. That is reasonable because it is possible to have a power cut and then your stuff goes out for like a week or so. Like if you had that policy, then your Xbox is dead. Like
no, it's not
you
dead.
can't do anything
They'll
because
just want to pay the next time. It's not.
It needs to,
it's not like,
needs to check, and if it can't check, then it's just to say no. We can't verify your shit, so you're done. Like
So
that's why it's unreasonable. Like I even said, like, hey, look, this is a good idea. I don't mind it, but the policy itself is too frugal. It needs to be more. Maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, or a month. That's fine. Once every day, way too much because there's way too much stuff that can happen in one day. Like, how many times have you had your power cut or internet go out and up in the next day compared to people that you've known where okay, it's taking like 3 days to fire back up or a week to fire back up?
If my power's out, everything is out.
Yeah, but that's because they live.
So I wouldn't even have power to play it if I wanted to play it.
Right.
No, I mean like your internet or
well, you come back.
Like,
you come back when all your internet's back, and then you're like, oh wait, what happened?
But if my it turns
even
on.
better, like you move house, right? Do you always get the internet on day one, or is it like the first week or something?
I try to make. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I try to make sure. Like that's the first thing I have hooked up.
Again, it was just unrealistic.
Just
Again.
take your Xbox to Starbucks, man.
Right.
Yo, by the
Buy on and piggyback off your neighbors.
by the way,
struggle is real playing an Xbox One in a hotel room. By the way, just
By the way, Cicero, man, it's all jokes, obviously, but like that was the most city shit I heard. Like, well, my internet is fine.
Yeah, hey man, look.
Like my man, we don't all live in Chicago, you know.
Hey. We got Google Fiber in Chicago. So.
The highest of internets.
Right. Only the finest of
Yes, Comcast.
we did kind of wander off the subject here, but all the PlayStation 5
that's what we do, man.
I know.
The biggest games in
You know what? All the PlayStation 5
World
needs.
of Warcraft, always online.
Yeah, there you go. All the PlayStation 5 needs to succeed. It's simple. Not an online connection, not a controller. All it needs is NAC 3. Good night.
There you go. I can't follow, but that's perfect. All right.
Nap.
By the way, this is kind of tied to it. So some analysts, actually, NPD analyst, Matt Piscatero, says that PS5 will be backwards compatible. My response is no shit. Like they don't really have an excuse for it now. You know, x86 architecture. Come on, son. You know, they're both going to be backwards compatible. You know?
Tony,
Yes, Brett.
are we analysts?
No, we're just motherfuckers that are more correct than analysts. I'm just
Well,
saying.
I know
Like
journalists, does that
Chris
count?
alone has been more correct than Michael Pachter. I'm just saying.
Wow, shots.
I love Michael
Well,
Pachter.
right.
You know, I'm just
Guess
saying.
who's not getting into the party?
I've never been invited to that motherfucker, man. I'm just saying.
You know,
I went once.
Mike is a good hustler. He installed himself as the guy that knows things that everybody else knows,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
good. Which is a good hustle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway,
It's
Yeah,
or as
back-
I like
yeah.
to call him, Captain Obvious.
yeah.
Next year we'll have a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, right. But here's the thing, right? Now, you know, because earlier in the show, you said Death Stranding will be a PS5. Here's the thing. And I've asked this question. Okay, on the Death Stranding box, what's it gonna say? Is it gonna be like PlayStation 4 game that plays on PS5 or PS5 game that plays on PS4? What is it gonna be exactly?
Well, that's the thing. So, I think it's going to be a PS5 game.
Okay,
So, which means that in order for you to play that game,
you need PS5.
you need a PS5. And that is, I think, like I was saying before, I think it's going to be interesting to see in this next generation how that plays out. This philosophical difference between what Microsoft presumably is going to do, where there are going to be several different consoles littered across crossing generations where everyone is playing the exact same game. It's just a matter of fidelity between an Xbox One, a One S, a One X, and you know, the Xbox Infinite, whatever, you know, whatever the new game is or the new console is going to be called, versus PS5, you know, presumably again PS5, and you'll be able to play PS5 games on PS5 and PS4 games on PS5. But you won't be able to play PS games earmarked for PS5 on PS4.
What if they did something a little bit different, where essentially they totally rebranded it, whereas as opposed to having something written like PS5 or Xbox 360 or whatever version, Xbox, you know, X, you essentially have it PlayStation, right?
Right.
And then you flip it over on the back, and it says compatible with PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I by the way, I agree with that point. It's like, yeah, PlayStation 5 games will only play on PS5, but there are going to be certain PS4 games, which is probably going to be the vast majority, that will be playable on PS5. So if you're a new PS4 game, right, you need to put that on the box somewhere, you know. So I think that may be a good way around it. It's like, hey,
yeah, I think that they will just it won't be like something. It won't be something as extensive as that. I think it'll just be like, hey, it also compatible with this.
Right. It's you know, the console's backwards compatible, just like the Wii U and the Wii.
Yeah, they'll probably build something within the hardware right off the bat, so it handles PS4 games as if it was playing on a PS4, but it's PS5.
Yeah.
I mean,
to be honest,
Wii U handles all Wii games, no problem.
I think,
to
be honest, I think the 5 is going to be like what I call an Ultra Pro. You know what I mean?
Think so?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be the next. It's just going to be an upgrade, but you know, a better upgrade than the Pro. You know what I mean?
That's something I think Manny and I were talking about this the other day during the stream, where it's like, okay, you notice how the jumps between generations are getting smaller. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just be real. Like, PS2 to PS3 was pretty incredible, right? PS3 to PS4, not even when you got 4K, it's like, that's not that much, man.
You know what? Do you have a 1X? Do you have a 1X, Tony?
No, I do not. I just have the regular one, but I do have a Pro. Yeah.
Yeah, that is where your problem lies. The Pro is good, but the 1X, is it's lights ahead of the Pro and of Xbox One games. So like you can see the 4K.
Yeah,
on 1X.
I have a
even like older games like
Carlos, you have a 1X, don't you?
Yeah, I just finished paying that shit off.
Yeah,
Mazel.
Yeah, do you agree with that statement? Because that's a pretty bold statement there, Mr. Cicero. Go ahead, Carlos. Do you think it's like because you have both of them, you have the X and the Pro, Carlos? Do you think the X blows away the Pro?
Not blows away, but it's definitely better. I will give it a shout out because it's the best place to play 4K Blu-ray movies.
The real exclusives, you know.
Yep.
But as far as games, like they do their job, and it's the machine itself is just impressive. The hardware, it's everything about the machine is just really well made.
But but we're going back to Manny's point is that I'm afraid that these PS5, Xbox 2, whatever the hell is going to be called, the leap is not going to be insane. Even when they go to 8K, talking about fucking 8K now, I don't know if we're going to be seeing all that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you look at the generation within the same decade from the beginning to the end. In the early 90s, all the way to the 32-bit era in the end. Like that's a pretty big leap.
Right.
And it just nowadays it seems like even the leaps are a bit smaller. But
I said that on Twitter a while ago. Like basically the 90s, all of the totality of the 90s, that's where you saw the most like the biggest leap in gaming. Think about it, the decade started with 8-bit graphics and ended 128-bit graphics. And then after that, it's just like you figure the graphics will get better, but they're not.
The leap to HD was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was the last big leap, I think.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. And I think that if you once you get a 1X and you have a 4K TV next to it, and you play, and the key is you've got to play a game that you've normally played that is enhanced. Like if you played it before, it like the back of your hand, and then you play it again on the 1X. It is a drastic and dramatic difference.
Shit, even the fucking Halo Master Chief Collection, I was playing that shit. That shit.
Yeah, right. But again, it's one of those things like what it looks like before. You knew what it looked like before on the one, or the 1S, and then to play it on the 1X, you're like, holy shit. And I did the same thing. So I did when I bought my 1X day one, I was playing Madden before I went to GameStop to go and pick mine up. And then when I brought the 1X home, I played Madden again and was like, holy shit. Then I did the same thing with my PS4 Pro. I picked up my Spider-Man PS4 Pro. I was playing before I left. I made sure to play MLB The Show. And then when I came home, the first game I played was MLB The Show, and it was like, oh, this looks good, but it wasn't holy shit.
Interesting.
But what I will say is, Tony, you're right about the incremental differences. I think the difference in the next generation will be that we'll get consistent 4K 60. And if we're not getting 4K 60, if that's not something that they're saying that we can do, then why are we doing it? But
we're barely hitting 1080p, man.
Right. We're getting 4K. We're getting 4K 30 on the Xbox.
The new Xbox is providing actual 4K, but man, half that shit
and then the Switch gets the hard pass. They don't even care.
Per second.
We're getting 4K 30 on the Xbox. But I think
we're not getting 4K 60. Like
not
4K.
We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere with the
right.
You're gonna get checkerboard 4K with 60. That's what you're gonna get.
But if we're not getting 4K 60, why are we doing it?
Oh no, I agree with you. I agree with that sentiment.
What I will say is, so I've been making allusions to cell phones all night. And I'll make another one.
I think you're getting a new cell phone.
Right.
What you getting, son?
Getting that Huawei phone.
But yeah, I'm gonna get my Soldier phone. But I think what we're looking at now is that consoles, our consoles are going to be more like phones, where every 2-3 years there are going to be new iterations of these consoles out.
I agree.
especially on the Microsoft side, and the consoles will become smaller and smaller to the point where they're set-top boxes, and that's it. No physical input devices, or no physical media ports or drives. We'll just have like 3 or 4 USB ports on the front.
Think about it like this: Microsoft already said, or at least the rumor is that there's going to have a diskless version of the Xbox.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that one.
Streaming and they have updates that way.
So that goes to what you're saying. That goes to what you're saying. You just need a box with a couple of ports and you're good to go.
Yep.
Yeah,
Technology
I think this next coming generation, they're paying close attention to what people want. Like PlayStation, I mean, Sony's got to realize PlayStation now is a failure. I mean, they keep adding games to it, but not everybody's picking up on the idea because their service isn't the best. Meanwhile, Xbox Game Pass, like hotcakes, they just added Ultimate Mortal vs. They added Ultimate Mortal or Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Just Cause 3.
Today.
Which is amazing. They're taking you for a ride, literally.
And Life is Strange 2. Life is Strange 2 is on there.
I mean, there are a lot of great games that are going to the service. I mean, they're gonna listen to this feedback, and I can't help but think like Sony's gonna try something new with the PlayStation 5 where backward compatibility is more featured in mind. Xbox, meanwhile, they're gonna nail it. They're gonna continue to bring the 1 and 360 games that we have already and try to add
original
more.
Xbox games.
Oh yeah, and original Xbox, exactly. I mean,
so the whole
SSX3
hybrid
looks
is
so great on the X. I can't believe it. It is crazy. It's an Xbox game and it looks like that. But I mean, the point is that they're embracing the ideas they're lining things up. Microsoft knows they didn't win this generation. Like Sony's killing them in this generation, even though they got some great games, despite what Metacritic thinks. But I mean, Microsoft they're going to bat with whatever they have their next system being, and they got all these studios that are going to make games for them. They're not going to have another situation where Scale Bunch slips through their fingers or Crackdown 3 gets delayed to 5 years. They're going to have stuff lined up, and I'm eager to see what it is. Not that I'm becoming an Xbox boy. I like a good comeback story, just like Sony did this generation after the PlayStation 3. And Nintendo with the Switch. That's a good comeback.
By the way, quick shout out to both Khalif and Sharif who are joining us in the chat. Shout out to the fellas, the Spawn.
See you next week, Khalif.
Right? Man. All right. And the last thing I want to talk about here is speaking about our boy Michael Pachter. He says, and I consider this another like really broke. It's gonna happen. He says a portable only version of the Nintendo Switch is dropping this year. I don't know about this year, but I think that's coming.
See, you wouldn't call it a Switch anymore. You have to call it handheld.
Right. You call it the Switch Boy.
The Switch Boy.
Or they can think of they can take the name Switch and do something a little bit different with it. I don't know.
Switch. I don't know.
I heard two things. I heard that they were going to do a handheld Switch, and they were going to do what's called the Switch Pro with some sort of improvement to the Joy-Cons or possibly more memory.
I heard about that.
Make the screen, get rid of the bezel.
I have 400 gigabytes and I'm still out of room. That's sad.
Here's why I don't think that's going to happen, because it would break the functionality of some of the games they've already released. Like Mario Party, where you can link the Switches together. If you can't take the Joy-Cons off, you can't do that anymore. The game wouldn't work. So I think they would hurt themselves. Not in a more drastic way than the 2DS, where there were some games where it needed the 3DS to close to do some things, and like you couldn't do that anymore with the 2DS because it was flat. But that was few and far between. This would be more drastic, right? And what sense would it make to just have a handheld Switch and a Switch Pro? Why wouldn't they just revise the system to be beefier?
See, a lot of people use it just for functionality purposes of taking it on the go. They like the idea.
You can do that now. Like,
I know.
I take it now. I use my 8B though. I love it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they don't need to just fuse the Joy-Cons on there. I don't see that being cost effective. The reason you would do that is like, okay, we've lowered our manufacturing cost. I don't see how you have to use the same amount of materials to do that as you would have detachable ones, right?
So you're thinking like an improved model of the Switch, then possibly more storage space,
more memory, revised LED screen,
the ability to connect a Bluetooth headphone.
Maybe.
You're talking crazy talk.
You're talking crazy talk.
That actually works.
Wait, are these the same phones that you use phone calls for? Because
The way you do voice chat, obviously with your phone, you just call.
Nobody 1-900 Mix-a-Lot. Hello. Yes, want to play Fortnite? Let's go.
Yeah. Call up Robert. Hey, Robert, you want to play, man? Let's play. Just stay on your phone, though.
Okay,
so
hang on a second, man. I gotta get this good signal. Hang on.
Nintendo's simplifying things. What kind of world do you live in?
Fortnite does that. It has the voice chat built into the game. Why doesn't Nintendo adapt that solution?
Because they can't figure it out.
Because it would make too much sense, man. It would make too much sense.
They don't want to call
it. It really doesn't.
They don't want to just pull a couple of people over who know something about this stuff and say, hey, listen, this is how you do it. No, they're just like, nah, we'll figure it out on our own. Oh wait, we got a brilliant idea. Use the cell phone service to do it.
Right.
Yeah, because that's
Oh,
genius.
man.
Yeah,
Right
no,
there.
I always said like
Talk about assuming always online for one service. The other one's assuming everyone has a damn cell phone.
Exactly.
I always said when
Use your landline.
Hey, that was Blizzard's logic with Diablo Immortal. That's what he said. Don't you have a phone?
Yeah, that's true. Don't you guys got a phone? You know. By the way, Nintendo figuring out, Nintendo figuring out online is like, they're like, yo, we're gonna invent the wheel. It's like that guy down there invented a wheel. Want to talk to him? Nah, fuck that. We're gonna do that shit on our own, man. It's like, no, man. It's
as soon as we hammer out these lumps.
yeah, right. You know, should we make it a square shape? Maybe that'll be good. You know.
You know what people want? Trapezoids.
Exactly. It's
Trapezoids.
But here's the but this goes back to I do believe this Switch is going to get some kind of hardware revision. I don't know what that form will be, but it's going to happen just based off of Nintendo's past. You know, they always do that.
But here's my question now: where does that leave the 3DS? I mean, is the 3DS pretty much out the door? I mean, they are getting new games. You know, they're getting Inside Story tomorrow, Bowser's in the Story, and then Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn coming in March. But really, I mean, it seems like almost an afterthought. So I'm a little concerned where that system's going to end up.
Well, why? Why are you concerned about it?
It had a good run. It's had a great run.
Right. It had a great
run. But
and now the portable system for Nintendo is the Switch.
3D
is the same as their home
I guess
console.
there is a time that comes, but I mean, like, you know, they just introduced the 2DS XL to kind of kill it. 2 years later?
So what? So what? It cost them $3 to make that.
$3. Like, I think it's a little more than $3. Maybe 30.
We were talking about this last week, and I had mentioned that the Game Boy Micro came out after the DS launch.
Yep.
Right.
You know?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Nintendo's going to get rid of the 3DS until it stops making the money because it's still making the money. You know what I'm saying?
They'll probably slow development though. Yeah, they already have, as far as I know.
Yeah, the 3DS is basically like Ozzy Osbourne still touring. It's like you shouldn't be out there, old man, but he's still making money. You know.
But Tony, your 3DS doesn't sit there. Well, you want me to fucking play Contra? What is that? What is this Fortnite business?
Unlike Ozzy Osbourne, they don't have Zach Wild singing for him.
Oh snap! Oh, somebody's get their head bit off.
One time,
Yes.
he's old. People just want to see him on the stage move all weird.
Man, they're at the concert hoping that he dies.
Listen. What you do is you just
crowd is brutal.
You just prop him up. And then you got the guy that sings exactly like him singing behind him, and you just have him pantomime. And you're good.
Forget all of that.
How did we go from Nintendo to Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah, but anyway,
Johnny Cash.
All right, but yeah, that's the way I see the 3DS. But yeah, it's like because we thought like, okay, Switch is out here, 3DS is done. No, Nintendo kept putting out fucking games for it. They even put out a new 3DS. So I don't think that thing's gonna go away anytime soon. No matter how much we want it to go away already. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. But Switch, I think maybe when the Switch gets this next hardware update, which is gonna happen, maybe then they'll finally retire the 3DS. I don't know. It's interesting. The Switch Boy. What about the Switch Mini? Maybe they'll call it that.
Nah, I want to call it the Switch. I want it to be called the Switch Boy, so you could say Switch Boy.
No, you have to say it. You have to say it like Kratos. Switch.
Like, Switch
Boy.
Yeah.
That's the big boy, man.
It's good stuff. All right, we're almost about to wrap up here, but I was going to bring this up at the top of the show, but we could do it now. And I almost forgot about this. Carlos and Cicero, you guys have a bet going on.
We do.
Whoa!
And we have to figure this out exactly because just to refresh us, Carlos, what was the bet again?
So we bet that the sales of God of War at the end of the year will either be at 8 million or not. Essentially,
right.
Yeah. I was on the side that it'll sell 8 million by the end of the year. Cicero was at the side that it won't sell over 8 million at the end of the year.
Yeah, and basically the loser would give a free game to the other podcast.
Yes.
Only thing is, the problem is Sony never followed up on these numbers, right?
Yeah.
So we I hate to do this, we may have to rely on VG charts.
Yeah,
I don't like VG
Sony.
charts. But
Sony said that Spider-Man sold 9 million. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's the potential that may have sold that much. But yeah, you do need to VG charts that.
Let's not stoop ourselves that low, and I'll just concede defeat because if God of War sold 8 million copies, they would have been all over it.
Yes,
they bragged about everything else about the game.
Yes.
They haven't bragged about sales in a long time since maybe the week the game came out when the sales were crazy. So to me, it's like, yeah, the writing's on the wall. It didn't sell 8 million at the end of the year. I don't think it came in close. Maybe like 5-6 million. But yeah, I'll
80 million units.
Right.
No, that's just PS4. What? No, what are you doing?
Lost numbers.
That's PS4.
Yeah. So I guess Cicero, we'll let you guys handle the whole contest thing. But yeah, it'll be courtesy of Throwdown and Carlos.
Right. Well, you know what? Since we can't actually prove that Carlos lost.
Hold on, I got it. I got it right here.
Also,
hang on.
Oh, hold on! Don't fuck it up, Robert. Don't fuck it up.
Sorry.
Yeah, right. I will also buy a game for the Throwdown community.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's very generous.
So,
I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry about that, but I just saw a Resetera thing here in August saying that there were registered 9.1 million users that played God of War, based on sharing the number of platinum trophies unlocked in a new.
Oh my God, that thing rears its head again.
Sorry, I mean, I did a search and I didn't go 80 million.
But I kind of like the fact that both of our audiences or communities will get something. So let's go with that. Everybody wins. How about
everybody
that?
wins.
Everybody wins.
You know what?
I said everybody's getting a new car. Check under your seat right now, son. Everybody wins.
You know what? I'm going to up the ante here. I got 4 Warhammer Vermintide 2 codes for Steam. Each of your sites get 2 codes.
Ooh, look at that. I like that.
Wow.
There we go.
Yes.
I know it's not a packaged game, but it's something.
Hey, there you go.
I appreciate that.
Yo, Vermintide is dope.
All right, so I'm just going to say now, if you guys want to win some of those codes, tune in to Throw Down Your Questions on Sunday to episode 216, and we're going to be giving you those codes away,
Yep.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that, man.
No problem, man. Glad to help. Just shut Tony up.
This man comes on my podcast slandering me.
Oh, you love it. I love how you made it on social media. Guess who's sneaking in the back door?
Yeah.
It's the DCD. I go through the front. What is this?
Yeah, that is true. He has his own. You have your own door, Robert.
Right.
It's not a knocky door either. There you go.
Oh yeah!
I just burst through the wall. Oh yeah!
All right, so
take that wall.
Yeah, so we'll have these contests coming up pretty soon. Cicero, appreciate that, man. That's very generous, But see, we need more podcasts. We doing more shit like that, man. Like this gaming community is so fractured, man. It's like let's come together.
What's funny is it seems like it's fractured in front, on front of the microphone because we're all doing our thing at that time. But when we get together, it's all love.
That's true, man.
And so that's the thing.
Yard house, son.
Yeah, yard house.
Yeah, E3 is happening.
Right. Yes, yard house gang.
You already know, man. All right, so I want to thank you guys for being on. Robert, as always, man, thank you for being on. Please plug your stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I do this podcast with my buddy David Gilton called the ARG Podcast. We had Tony on a few times, and we're trying to get Khalif on. Cicero, you're invited to come on as well. We talk retro, old school games, give away codes, talk about all sorts of subjects. This week, our episode, we talked about, are there any good LJN games out there? And surprisingly, there are a couple. I don't know. We'll talk about it on the show. But you can check it out at retrozap.com. You can also check out my work at comicbook.com/gaming. Twitter, you can follow me, twitter.com/thedcd. Watch me and Tony make fun of Paris for hours on end. It's amazing. It is. And I think, Khalif's getting in on that too, which is great.
One day Paris is going to power up and smash it all.
Look at all the games.
Yeah, and of course, Cicero, man, thank you for being on. Always glad having you. You're my favorite drinking buddy at E3.
Oh man, of course, man. I love you.
Well, I don't drink anymore. So.
Yeah,
See,
please plug your stuff, man.
Check me out on Twitter at Spawn on me also. But I am at Stubby Stan on Twitter. Spawn on Me is the podcast that I do with Khalif Adams and Sharif Jackson. These guys were holding down the fort while I was here invading Throwdownville. And like I said, so the episode we recorded tonight will be out on Tuesday, and later on in the week, make sure you tune into us on all your favorite podcatchers to check out our Game of the Year awards. It's so dope. We couldn't do it in just one episode. It is 2. It is called the Spawnies. Or if it's not 2, I'm not sure how it's cut. If it's not 2, it's long enough to be 2. But unlike any of the other awards shows, it's going to be one that you want to listen to all the way through, baby, and check out to see who gets that Cheddar Bay biscuit.
So there's no trailers and and exclusives that happen in between your awards, right?
No,
it's all straight awards.
Right. It is
no world premieres, right?
No, the only world premieres and exclusives you get are those hot takes from us and great jokes.
Hot takes and great jokes.
And also, while you guys are listening to that, please appreciate the audio quality. Like the Spawn Army is like, I love just how rich and crisp everything sounds, man. Like, because you guys put in work for that. There's a reason it's coming out on. Think about it, you guys recorded it tonight. It's coming out too. There's a reason for that. Khalif puts a lot of work into that, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, shout out to Ka. I mean, he does the production most of the time, but Reef is a OG podcaster, and man, he puts his thing down, and every now and then I get behind. I put my engineer's hat on.
Every now and then you do an interview that you don't turn on the recording device.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man.
Yes, every now and then I'll record an interview just for the people in the room, and not for the audience. So yeah, I'll do that too.
Yeah, and of course, since they're actually here with us, thank you, Sharif and Khalif, man. You guys are awesome. Be looking forward to seeing you guys again whenever it happens. Again, I didn't even know I was going to see Kyle like a couple months ago, so I was like, oh shit, this is awesome, man, it's so dope, man. All right, so I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook at Throwdown Show. Links are located in the description below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight joined by Emilio Lopez.
I'll see you later, guys.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brian Manjoma.
Bye-bye, Bungie.
Brett Murdoch.
It's been real.
Adam Vale.
Have a good weekend, people.
Robert Workman.
Yak 3.
And Cicero Holmes.
The Baron has left the building.
All right, guys. We'll see you on Sunday, man. Later.
Peace.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Until Streak Sharks.